social and economic disparities between communities. The government opts to address those inequalities more or less at the same time. They go on social spending spree, covering social, economic, as well as housing, health, and schooling, and they do not heed the warnings that the economy is being overheated, and they reach a height which cannot be sustained any longer, and they come down crashing as all other measures are no longer sustainable. In their efforts to try and rescue the situation, they take more loans. They even go to the extent of printing more money in an attempt to address the problem. It is still not maintainable. They try to introduce price controls, food subsidies, and all other measures. The process cannot be stopped, and they go down crashing to the ground. And the situation turns into a very serious situation, and authoritarian situation seem to be looming.
The Flight of the Flamingos is the scenario of inclusive democracy and growth. A democratic political settlement leads to the installation of a representative government. This government formulates clear and consistent policies in which the rules of the game are understood on a longer-term basis by most of the major players. This government is also characterized by relative efficiency and low levels of corruption, and it is sensitive to the need to observe macroeconomic constraints. The political settlement also allows for a broad participatory element in which the people see themselves as having a say in the formulation and execution of policies. At the same time, a relatively facilitating international environment occurs, and this is characterized by two essential elements. First of all, in the Southern African region, there is reasonable stability and growth, such that a number of the potential crises in Southern Africa do not rebound negatively on the program of development and growth in South Africa. Secondly, the world markets are relatively open to the products of South Africa, allowing an export-led component to the overall growth path. This combination of a political settlement of this nature and a facilitating international environment leads to and creates an environment for sustained economic growth. And this is based on three main elements. The first of these is business confidence arising from the certainty and the consistency of policies. Secondly, this leads to an increasing investment, and the overall growth leads to an increase in employment. At the same time, the combination of growth and the democratic and participatory nature of the political system leads to a program of social reconstruction in which there is social investment dealing with the problems of poverty and inequality, but observing macro constraints, and this creates conditions for an overall decrease in the level of violence. Growth takes off, and at the end of the period, after 10 years, the team felt that a growth rate of about 5% per annum was possible, that this would be weighted largely in favor of the most impoverished people in the society, who would see their incomes rising by about 7 to 9% per annum, while the more wealthy members of the society saw their incomes rising at a slower rate of about 1 to 3%.
I'm not quite sure what the story is telling me, that there is a good chance of these happy outcomes materializing, or is the story saying in the unlikely event of these miracles happening, the country will be saved? And I think that needs to be cleared. What message are we saying? Because I wasn't sure whether I'm listening to a story or to a prayer for a hopeful outcome. I think
the real question is the economic forum, because the government is not very keen on the economic forum at this point in time, and I don't know how we deal with that question, because that is the very real missing element within the political scenario. But otherwise, I think the
team debated the plausibility of the Flamingo scenario.
Attitudes aspect also, because as Sagi says, there are some things which can happen, and there is general agreement on that. But that's about all, if I may say, in the entire presentation. It is not clear as to what will actually make those people who generally agree to translate that agreement, to translate that understanding into reality.
The team agreed that there are many types of policies that can lead to the flight of the flamingos, but it only concerned itself with essential elements. These can be presented in the form of an arch. Each brick is necessary for it to remain intact. The economic, political and social elements are interdependent. The economy cannot function without social and political stability as its foundation. The political system needs a basis of social reconstruction as well as economic development and stability, while the foundations of a good social system are dependent on both economic development and political stability. Take the economy. At base is social and political stability in the country. Economic success depends on its being market-oriented. This does not mean a free market economy. It needs 5 basic elements for it to function. 1, effective negotiations between business and labor. For example, an economic forum. 2, a good investment environment. 3, the effective provision of basic needs, such as food and housing. 4, success in international trade and the development of exports, because without foreign exchange, no country can prosper. And 5, a government which does not overspend, or else we're on the road to Icarus. When it comes to the social system, the country clearly needs economic development and political stability. The essential elements here are the curbing of violence, schooling and training, the empowerment of women, and public health and nutrition. We know the damaging effects of not curbing the violence, but we have yet to learn that without the empowerment of women at all levels, a social system cannot function. The vicious circle which exists in South Africa at the moment could be transformed into a beneficial circle. The group believes that the path that South Africa takes depends on the answer to 3 questions. Firstly, is a settlement negotiated? If no, we end up with the ostrich. Secondly, is the transition rapid and decisive? If no, the lame duck will emerge. Thirdly, are the policies of the new government sustainable? If no, the Icarus emerges. If yes, South Africa will find itself on the flight path of the flamingos.